We have that in common, actually. I had sort of the same kind of path where I was making up fun commercials, even sometimes ironically. And also something you just said, it sounds like something Mark Twain said a while ago, which is contrary to what a lot of people think. You think, to give a long speech or to tell a long story or write a long book, that's really difficult. But I think Twain said, to write the shorter story, that's where it really takes a lot of discipline and practice, because you have to.
Yes. I am writing you a long letter because I haven't the time to write you a short letter.
Yeah. Totally relatable. And so you've had this career as a writer, a storyteller. This show, we talk about brands a lot. It's called Behind the Brand, and the premise is, it's about entrepreneurs, innovators, other people, and the stories behind their success. So, what do you think? What is the Malcolm Gladwell brand? If I'm talking to Seth Godin, he would push back and say, "Brian, I am not a brand. I'm a human being." But for the sake of this, discussion of brands, what is the Malcolm Gladwell brand?
Well, first of all, I will echo Seth, but let's, for the sake of discussion. Well, if you mean by that, what do people think of when they think of me? If they're readers of my books, or, well, I suppose they think of me. I'm a Canadian. That's pretty important.
Why is that important to you?
Well, it means that I'm reasonable and mild. I don't carry a gun. I think people should get along. I would say, some people say that I'm a contrarian, but I actually don't think I am a contrarian. I think I'm the opposite of contrarian. I actually am. I think most of what I say is very, very, very commonsensical, but I think there's interesting ways to say things that are commonsensical. So that's what I think. I know there are real contrarians out there. I'm not really one of them because I'm not that interested in conflict.
Yeah. Why do you think they think that you're a contrarian?
Well, people make a mistake when there's two different conditions here. Condition number one is, you have told me something I didn't know. Condition number two is, you have told me something that contradicts something I know, right? The contrarian is the second category. I'm the first category, I think. I think really what I'm doing is telling people things I didn't know, right? So when I think about my most successful revisionist history episodes, they're really about telling you something you didn't know. They don't take an existing belief and say, you're wrong. They say, I did one of my favorite ones was called Miss Buchanan's Period of Adjustment, and it was a podcast about the Brown. What effect did the Brown versus Board civil rights decision have on black teachers? And that's not I think it was one of my best episodes ever. It is not contrarian. It does not tell you that what you thought you knew is wrong. It told you didn't know the whole story, right? I'm way, way more interested in that second thing. The whole story is what I'm interested in.
Yeah. And it also seems like you're interested in looking at things in ways that people haven't considered before. And I can tick off all of your books. In fact,
Nice.
here's the Malcolm Gladwell, because I'm a big fan.
I see that.
You talk about that in David and Goliath. You talk about that in Talking to Strangers. It's almost a thread that runs through all of your work. Mm-hmm. Hey, you reader, you probably didn't notice this, but I want to bring it to your attention. And sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's a metaphor, right? Like David and Goliath. So I think that's very interesting. Can I tell you a funny story?
Sure.
So I was, I've been a fan from afar from a long time, and Seth Godin and I became friends about a decade ago, and I knew that you guys knew each other, and you're friends, I'm sure. but I resisted, asking the favor for an introduction because I wanted to try and get through to you the proper way and invite you on this show and whatnot years ago. And I tried, contact Little Brown and, talk to all the folks. But for some reason, and of course you're in high demand and you're busy, it just didn't, the timing never worked out. And like year after year, I would try and fail. But I was manifesting this Malcolm Gladwell, power, this aura. And one random day in Laguna Beach, I'm with my family walking down the stairs. I've got towels, beach chairs. I've got a couple kids hanging up my neck. And who's walking up the stairs or up the ramp, like two ships passing, is Malcolm Gladwell. You were there in Laguna Beach at a Wall Street Journal event or something. And I was like deer in the headlights. I was like, oh, wait a second. Here's the guy that, first of all, I idolize, who's like my hero. That I've also been chasing for like the past 3 years, and he just passed me. We almost brushed shoulders on the way to the beach. This is so weird. And so I'm thinking, I can't approach him now. Like, he's busy, I've got my swimsuit on. This is not appropriate. But like, I was like, so I didn't know what to do. So like, I tell my wife, that was Malcolm Gladwell. I'm sure of it. And she said, well, put down your stuff and go after him. Go say hello or something. And so I did put all my stuff down, put the kids down, ran back up the ramp, and you were gone like a phantom.
It's funny. I have a terrible memory. I remember almost nothing. I remember that day. I don't remember running into you, but I was going for a run. So the minute I got to the top of the stairs, I ran down the road. So that's why I vanished. It wasn't that I'm some kind of magician. I just was in mid-run.
Yeah. So to me, my mind works in metaphors too. That's why I love your books. But I was thinking about like Moby Dick a little bit. Like, you're the big white whale, it's always eluding me. And, anyway, so like,
well, here we are. Yes, you've harpooned me, and I am lying, twitching, and lifeless on your deck.
Well, I think maybe that I'm now sailing in different oceans, and I've now sailed into your ocean.
I mean, we were just sitting back, chopping it up.